There are two groups in America, two main groups when we're talking about group stalking. One that knows that group stalking is real and that most people who report being group stalked are either really being group stalked or are working with the perpetrators to spread disinformation. Very small percentage of them are actually crazy, you know. Just like a very small percent of people who act abnormally are actually crazy. Most of them usually are drunk, on drugs, in a highly stressful situation, etc. So this proves psychiatry of fraud beyond any doubt. Now let's look at this. During a 12-month period, this is in 2009, an estimated 3.4 million people 18 or older were victims of stalking. Just people 18 or older in America, 3.4 million in 1 year. Okay? 11% of the victims, right here, you see, reported having been stalked for 5 years or more. Okay? And you see on record, people lose time from work. Okay? So obviously they're stressed out as a result of the stalking on record. So let's go here, okay? See, so during a 12-month period, an estimated 14 in every 1,000 people age 18 or older were victims of stalking. Okay, so 1.4 out of 100 people, 1.4% of the population are victims of stalking. Okay, now see the nature of stalking. Unwanted phone calls and messages, unwanted letters and emails, spreading rumors, following or spying, showing up at places, waiting for victim, leaving unwanted presence. Okay, now what is the percentage here? Unwanted phone calls, 62.5%. Unwanted letters or emails, 30%. So, you know, this shows that mail, you know, messing with your mail, where they're giving you unwanted letters or tampering with your mail, you know, slipping unwanted letters and emails into you, you know, is part of it. So none of you should be surprised. Spreading rumors, smear campaigns is what they call it, 29%. Following or spying, okay? People say, people are following me. Yeah, well, out of fucking 3.4 million people, almost 1 million of them are being followed. Almost 1 million of them, almost 1 million people annually on record are having people follow them and people showing up at the places that they're going. So how's it, oh my God, how could that, these people must be lying, but your own Department of Justice says that that's what stalkers do. Okay, should we jump to the conclusion that people are suffering from a mental illness when on record what they're describing is exactly what stalkers do? I mean, my goodness. How evil is psychiatry? You see how psychiatry expects you to be a dumbass and to believe them no matter what. It's the reason why we have these stalking laws in the first place. Is because this is a known phenomenon. This is not just some random fucking event. Now we go on. See, 1 in 10 victims reported that the stalking started 5 years or more. So gang stalkers say this has been going on for a long time. Well, yes, it's been going on for a long time. They talk about cyber stalking. Well, yes, you know, involvement of cyber stalking or electronic monitoring in stalking and harassment. Okay, any type of cyber stalking or electronic monitoring. 26.6%. They're stalking them on the internet. Okay, 6% say that there's electronic monitoring. This is what stalkers fucking do on record. Don't you see? Now I'm about to show you an article, right? And so taking protective actions is part of, you know, what happens. And if you believe that they're using technology, which I do believe they're using on a lot of people, not me per se, but a lot of people, then yes, to take, you know, doing anything, magnets or whatever you think might help is exactly what you expect, because you see that a significant percent of people who are stalked on record, according to the Department of Justice, take some sort of preventative action. Now we move on. See, so what are their worst fears? Not knowing what will happen next, the behavior will never stop, bodily harm or kidnapping of the child, their family member, loss of freedom. See, they, you know, on record, they worry about going to the psych ward or being arrested. Death, loss of job, harm current partner, losing one's mind. 4% of people who are stalked out of 3.4 million every year worry about losing their mind. So what we should really look at when we're talking about gang stalking is, are these people really stressed out, you know, and they're worried about losing their mind? When you start worrying about losing your mind, it's because you know you're acting abnormally. Abnormal behavior is a part of stalking to the point where 4% of people worry about losing their fucking mind. Okay? And they start off by being annoyed or angry, anxious or concerned. This is on record. The reason why these people do this, and it's the government doing this, is because they know you're going to, 72%, almost all of them are angry. Okay? And you see me angry. Almost, half of them are anxious or concerned. Over a quarter of them are frightened. And then they feel helpless, depressed, sick, suicidal. So 1% feel suicidal. The government knows when they do this that 1% feel suicidal, and many of those will kill themselves. So yes, they are killing people by doing this on record. Okay? Property damage, attacking victim, and so on and so forth. Now, when you go on and you see, the methodologies they used and so on and so forth, but, I don't want to make this video too long. So I'm going to, I was actually going to put this with another video I made, but I'm going to have to do this as a separate video because it's going to be a long video. So let me go to this. Now let's see how the media and psychiatry treats it. Now keep in mind what I've just shown you. How the statistics show beyond any doubt that if somebody claims to be group stalked, oh, I didn't find you that statistic. There's a statistic out there. I'll put it in the comments and give you a link where 17% of all stalking is group stalking. Okay, Department of Justice as well, perhaps from 2006, but nevertheless, it shows you that on record, this stuff happens. Okay, and on record, electronic monitoring is part of it. And if the government is doing it, yes, we can expect them to be doing it for the purpose of doing case studies, clinical trials, and practicing mind control. That is exactly what you would expect. Okay. So they start saying, oh, there's a massive expansion of the online community. Yes, there are tons of people reporting being stalked. Yes, before the term gang stalking was even used, the Department of Justice was saying the same thing. What's your fucking point? Okay? And they try to play them out, and look who they choose. Of all the people, you have people like me that look perfectly sane. They choose the most crazy looking motherfucker they can find. Okay? Going on. Then they say psychiatrists and psychologists have at least partially blamed the internet itself for such theories. You see how this isn't just psychiatrists. This is also psychologists. Okay? And they blame, the internet for such theories, exciting an extreme community that encourages delusional thinking. Delusional thinking? Either you psychiatrists and psychologists didn't take fucking 5 minutes. It just took me 5 minutes to go over that first part. Didn't take 5 minutes to look into what the Department of Justice has to say, which is extreme neglect. That is basically criminal neglect on behalf of mental health, on the part of mental health. Period. Either you didn't take 5 minutes to look into this as an extremely common event on record, or you are fucking being intellectually dishonest on purpose because you lack morality. And if you lack such morality, you have no business being, working in the profession that you do. No business at all. Okay? So they go on and they say, oh, there's a dark side of social. They're basically blaming free speech for it. A bunch of oppressive dogs who kill 500,000 people on record in Western countries alone with their psych meds are blaming free speech for, the fact that the government fucking persecutes whistleblowers and stuff. I mean, isn't that disgusting? Isn't that just completely disgusting? Let me go to this one part. There's one more part I wanted to show you. Damn, where was the part? It was the part about basically, okay, here we go. The ongoing NSA revelations have given nuggets of truth for wide-ranging theories across the online gang stalking community. So you're saying when the government, gets exposed a little bit, it validates what they say. DOJ, the Department of Justice statistics validate what they say, but you people are completely disingenuous. Completely. At one point it says Snowden basically fed into their delusions, Before Snowden, let me show you this part. This part will kill you. Last year, National Security Agency's leaks from Edward Snowden sparked hundreds of gang-stalking bloggers and websites touting their accuracy and knowledge of the pervasive government spying all along. Why were they? Oh, yeah, because they were right all along. It's not like they were fucking wrong and they're pretending they were right. No, they were right. They were right. And just like Snowden and Assange were persecuted, they say many websites declare that the Affordable Care Act is among the many lists being formulated to track targets without their knowledge. Whistleblowers and the outspoken are among the most targeted characteristics. Could the government possibly persecute political dissidents? It's not like we don't see, it's not like that never happens anywhere in the world, you know, Saudi Arabia, China, North Korea, and so on and so forth, even South Korea, you know, every country in the world on record has persecuted political dissidents. But you see how they're playing it out like, well, you know, and listen to this. This is used as a means of retaliation, blacklisting, silencing, or controlling members of society. In my other video I'm going to release before this, I define social control. On record, social control exists. And it's done through social pressure and legal means and people with legitimate power on record. That is a key part of sociology. Any sociologist will tell you that yes, group stalking exists. Yes, fucking social control exists. And part of it is social pressure. And these people in control think about using social pressure to gain, to enforce, you know, social control. And if you didn't, I mean, I shouldn't have to tell any of you this. The fact that they made this article and there's going to be bootlickers who cite it and complete idiots who cite it, you know, that's disgusting. Anyway, once on the notification system, warnings about the targets are sent out to every individual the target comes in contact with, thus poisoning their associations and socially annexing the targeted individual, according to the gang stalking world. East Germany Stasi, the Soviet Union's KGB, and the Nazis are commonly referenced as having used these Zersitzung, German word for decomposition or corrosion tactics, to psychologically tear down victims. On record, that's what happens. And, you know, one thing I would cite is little kids, okay? When little kids have a problem with somebody and they see that you're hanging out with them and they want to socially isolate you, they go up to your friends and say, why do you hang out with so-and-so? He's such a weirdo. He's such a loser. I saw him doing this, and they'll make up stuff. I mean, this on record happens. Even little kids do it. Most of what they do is little bitch shit that little kids would think of. Following you around. You know, cyberbullying. Little kids on record cyberbully people. Little kids on record follow people around and call them names and socially isolate themselves. And these lowly dogs in psychiatry are going to sit there and say, well, all these thousands of people who are reporting this are magically mentally ill. Okay, and they say the views of these belief systems are like a shark that has to be constantly fed. Dr. Hoffman told the New York Times. You see how the media, CBS, the New York Times, has betrayed you? And if you look at RT, they constantly cite how Western media are institutional liars. If you don't feed the delusion, sooner or later it will die out or diminish on its own accord. The key thing that it needs to be repetitively reinforced. Now remember when I told you about the drugging of the food. I say I'm not thinking about this quote-unquote delusion according to them. You know, the effects hit me. You know, I eat the food and then I'm drugged up. Okay? And he says the key thing, key phrase, the key thing is that it needs to be repetitively reinforced. It needs to be repetitively reinforced. Now, for anyone with a brain, I've just proven beyond any fucking doubt that they are covertly drugging me. Because it's not being repetitively reinforced. They are fucking drugging me. I'm noticing it, and then I'm getting pissed off and making a fucking video about it 9 times out of 10. And the other one time is I don't make a video about it. I just get pissed off. See, so during a 12-month period, an estimated 14 in every 1,000 people age 18 or older were victims of stalking. Okay, so 1.4 out of 100 people, 1.4% of the population are victims of stalking. There are two groups in America, two main groups when we're talking about group stalking. One that knows that group stalking is real and that most people who report being group stalked are either really being group stalked or are working with the perpetrators to spread disinformation. Very small percentage of them are actually crazy, you know. Just like a very small percent of people who act abnormally are actually crazy. Most of them usually are drunk, on drugs, in a highly stressful situation, etc. So this proves psychiatry of fraud beyond any doubt. Now let's look at this. During a 12-month period, this is in 2009, an estimated 3.4 million people 18 or older were victims of stalking. Just people 18 or older in America, 3.4 million in 1 year. Okay? 11% of the victims, right here, you see, reported having been stalked for 5 years or more. Okay? And you see on record, people lose time from work, okay? So obviously they're stressed out as a result of the stalking on record. So let's go here, okay?